Important message. If you're living with diabetes in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, or Australia, then breakfast isn't just a meal. It is a critical moment that shapes your blood sugar for the entire day. The wrong breakfast can spike your glucose and wreck your energy, while the right one can actually help stabilize your levels and reduce your risk of complications. These 5 breakfasts are powerful, backed by science, and made for real life. People in the United States are waking up every day with one big question. What can I eat for breakfast that won't raise my blood sugar? It's a real issue. Over 37 million Americans have diabetes, and nearly 1 in 3 is pre-diabetic. Yet most are still eating the same cereals, bagels, pancakes, or muffins that trigger sugar spikes, insulin resistance, and weight gain. If you've ever felt sleepy, shaky, irritable, or ravenously hungry just an hour or 2 after eating breakfast, it might not be your fault. It's the food that's setting you up to fail. The traditional American breakfast is built around refined carbs and added sugars, and that's a nightmare for anyone with type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance. You need a breakfast that does the opposite. Something that supports insulin sensitivity, lowers fasting glucose, and keeps your appetite balanced. That's why we start with one of the most underrated options: eggs with avocado and leafy greens. Eggs are incredibly misunderstood. For years, people in the United States were told to fear eggs because of cholesterol. But that advice has quietly been reversed. Current U.S. dietary guidelines no longer place a limit on dietary cholesterol because studies show that it doesn't significantly impact blood cholesterol in most people. What does matter is inflammation, triglycerides, and insulin resistance, and eggs actually improve those markers. One large egg contains about 6 grams of protein, very low carbohydrates, and important nutrients like choline, selenium, and vitamin D, which many people in the United States are deficient in. When you pair 2 or 3 pasture-raised eggs with half an avocado and a handful of sautéed spinach or arugula, you're getting a blood sugar-stabilizing, nutrient-dense meal that leaves you full for hours. The monounsaturated fats in avocado improve insulin sensitivity and reduce LDL cholesterol, while the fiber slows digestion and helps prevent post-meal sugar spikes. People across Canada and the United Kingdom who switch to a higher protein, low-carb breakfast like this report fewer cravings and more stable energy throughout the morning. This kind of breakfast is especially helpful for those who are also trying to lose weight or manage metabolic syndrome. Next on the list is chia seed pudding with unsweetened almond milk, berries, and a scoop of protein powder. Many people from the United States and Australia have embraced chia seeds as a superfood, but very few realize just how powerful they are for diabetes. Chia seeds are packed with soluble fiber, which forms a gel-like substance in the stomach that slows down the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. That means you don't get those sharp spikes and crashes that are so common with high-carb meals. Just 2 tablespoons of chia seeds provide around 10 grams of fiber, which is about 1/3 of the daily recommended intake in the U.S. Most Americans only get about 15 grams of fiber per day, while the target is 25-30 grams. That chronic fiber deficiency leads to unstable blood sugar, poor gut health, and weight gain over time. Mixing chia seeds with unsweetened almond milk, a low-carb, high-fat alternative to dairy, helps create a creamy, satisfying base without lactose or added sugar. You can prep this pudding the night before. Just stir in a scoop of low-carb, high-quality protein powder like whey isolate or plant-based pea protein. People often forget that protein is the most blood sugar-stabilizing macronutrient of all. When you combine fiber, protein, and healthy fats in one meal, the insulin response becomes much more predictable. Top it off with a handful of fresh or frozen raspberries or blueberries, both of which have one of the lowest glycemic loads among fruits and are rich in anthocyanins, which have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. Many people with diabetes in the United Kingdom and Canada say this breakfast transformed their mornings because it is quick, portable, and surprisingly filling. Another game changer, especially for people who are tired of the same breakfasts, is Greek yogurt with flax seeds, walnuts, and cinnamon. But not just any yogurt. Most store-bought yogurts in the U.S. are full of hidden sugars, additives, and flavorings that make them totally unsuitable for anyone managing diabetes. Even brands labeled low-fat or natural can contain 15 to 25 grams of sugar per serving. That's why the type of yogurt matters. You want full-fat, plain Greek yogurt, preferably organic if available. The full-fat version has fewer carbs and more satiating fats, which help reduce hunger and improve glycemic response. Just one serving of plain Greek yogurt delivers about 15-20 grams of high-quality protein, and research has shown that regular intake of fermented dairy like this can reduce A1C and fasting blood glucose. When you add a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, you're boosting the omega-3 content and fiber, both essential for reducing inflammation and protecting blood vessels. Walnuts provide even more healthy fats and polyphenols, which have been linked to better insulin function. Then comes the cinnamon, and this isn't just for taste. Clinical studies have found that even small amounts of cinnamon, like half a teaspoon per day, can lower fasting blood glucose and improve insulin sensitivity in people with type 2 diabetes. Some studies suggest it works by slowing the breakdown of carbs in the digestive tract and mimicking insulin RS activity in the cells. Cinnamon is cheap, easy to add, and very popular in traditional American kitchens, yet most people aren't using it as the metabolic weapon it truly is. This meal works because it's fast, familiar, and flexible. The fourth option might surprise people, especially in the United States where breakfast usually means something sweet or carb-heavy. But a savory breakfast bowl made with ground turkey, cauliflower rice, olive oil, and zucchini can change everything. Think of it as a blood sugar-friendly version of a breakfast skillet, but without the toast or potatoes. Ground turkey is one of the leanest, most affordable sources of protein available in the US and Canada. And it is especially beneficial for people with diabetes because it contains amino acids that help preserve muscle mass without adding excess fat. Muscle tissue plays a huge role in glucose regulation because it eats where most of the insulin-driven sugar uptake happens. Cauliflower rice adds bulk and fiber without carbs, and zucchini brings in potassium, antioxidants, and hydration-supporting nutrients that are often missing in processed breakfasts. Drizzle it all with extra virgin olive oil, a staple in Mediterranean diets and a proven anti-inflammatory fat that improves heart health, reduces oxidative stress, and supports insulin function. People in Australia and the UK who, the adopted Mediterranean-style eating in the morning show lower inflammation markers and more consistent glucose control throughout the day. This savory bowl also bypasses the psychological hunger triggers that sweet breakfast can cause. When you start the day with something savory, high in fat and protein, and low in carbs, you often avoid the roller coaster of hunger and cravings that sabotage so many people by 10 a.m. A woman in Florida shared that after switching to a meal like this, her continuous glucose monitor finally stayed in the green zone for hours after breakfast, which never happened with cereal or toast. The fifth option is especially useful for those who are constantly on the go. A low-carb smoothie made with spinach, unsweetened almond milk, half an avocado, frozen cauliflower, and clean protein powder. You might not think of smoothies as diabetes-friendly, but they can be if you get rid of the sugar traps. Most smoothies in the US are sugar bombs made with fruit juices, bananas, and added sweeteners. That's a metabolic disaster. But this smoothie is different. Spinach provides magnesium and potassium, both of which are critical for blood sugar control and are often depleted in people who take diuretics or have insulin resistance. Avocado thickens the smoothie and adds healthy fats without carbs. Frozen cauliflower might sound strange, but it's tasteless in smoothies and adds fiber, volume, and antioxidants without changing the flavor. The right protein powder, one with zero added sugar and at least 20 grams of protein per scoop, ensures your blood sugar stays stable and you stay full. Almond milk, especially the unsweetened kind, is a great base with zero sugar and virtually no carbs. This smoothie isn't just a fast option, it's a functional breakfast that stabilizes glucose, supports digestion, and satisfies hunger. One man in California said this shake helped him completely eliminate his mid-morning snack habit and made his blood sugar graphs look totally different. No more big spikes or crashes, just a steady, controlled line. Most people across the United States still start their mornings with boxed cereals, white toast, sweetened yogurts, granola bars, or even breakfast sandwiches from fast food chains. But for people living with diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, these foods act like sugar bombs. and how they outperform typical breakfast choices that are often falsely labeled healthy in the American food industry. Take a closer look at breakfast cereals marketed in the United States. Even so-called diabetes-friendly or heart-healthy options like whole grain flakes or oat-based cereals often contain 10 to 18 grams of added sugars per serving. And who actually eats just one serving? Surveys show that most Americans pour 2 or more servings into their bowl, add sweetened almond milk or juice, and unknowingly spike their blood glucose over 180 mg/dl within an hour. That's a dangerous zone for anyone trying to prevent nerve damage, cardiovascular disease, or kidney complications, all of which are already elevated risks in people with diabetes. And then there's the insulin surge that follows, often leading to a crash by mid-morning, fatigue, brain fog, and extreme hunger. That's how people get trapped in a cycle of sugar, insulin, crash, repeat. But when you break that pattern using nutrient-dense options like chia pudding, your glucose levels flatten, your energy steadies, and your body gets back into balance. Americans often underestimate the role of protein in managing diabetes. The standard U.S. breakfast contains only 10-15 grams of protein, which is far below the optimal amount needed to support muscle mass, insulin sensitivity, and appetite control. But when people eat 25-35 grams of protein for breakfast, which is what you get from 2 to 3 eggs plus greens, or a scoop of high-quality protein powder in a smoothie, everything changes. Multiple studies out of research centers in the United States and the United Kingdom have confirmed that high-protein breakfasts reduce postprandial glucose spikes, lower A1C over time, and improve satiety hormones like GLP-1. That means fewer cravings and more control over your eating. One patient in Canada, after switching from bagels to high-protein bowls, reported she lost 12 pounds in 2 months without changing anything else because her cravings and hunger finally came under control. This is a real shift happening in households across North America. The idea is simple but powerful. Build your first meal around protein, healthy fats, and fiber, because that's what your metabolism actually needs. It's also important to look at fiber, which remains one of the most critical and overlooked nutrients in the entire American diet. The average adult in the United States only gets 15 grams of fiber per day, far below the recommended 25 to 30 grams. And that matters because fiber is a powerful tool for managing blood glucose. Soluble fiber, like that found in chia seeds, flax seeds, vegetables, and even some fruits like berries, forms a gel in the stomach that slows down digestion and sugar absorption. This results in lower post-meal glucose levels and improved insulin response. In one clinical trial, people who consumed a high-fiber breakfast had 31% lower glucose levels throughout the day compared to those eating a low-fiber breakfast. That's not a small difference. It's the kind of result that determines whether you stay in a safe zone or drift into dangerous hyperglycemia. A man in Ohio shared that he used to eat oatmeal every morning, thinking it was healthy. But when he switched to Greek yogurt with flax seeds and cinnamon, his post-breakfast glucose dropped by over 60 points. He finally understood that healthy does not mean the same thing when you're managing diabetes. It has to be specific, targeted, and blood sugar conscious. Then there's fat, another nutrient that has been unfairly demonized, especially in U.S. dietary guidelines from the past. People with diabetes were once told to avoid fats, especially saturated fat, and instead eat more complex carbohydrates. That advice caused serious harm. It led to meals that were lower in fat but higher in carbs, which is the exact opposite of what people with insulin resistance need. But now we understand that healthy fats, like those from avocados, olive oil, nuts, and seeds, can dramatically improve glycemic control. They slow gastric emptying, reduce glucose absorption, and improve satiety. More importantly, they support hormone production and reduce inflammation, which is a major contributor to insulin resistance. In Mediterranean diet studies, participants who consumed olive oil at breakfast had lower blood sugar levels and needed less medication. One woman in Georgia who added olive oil and eggs back into her breakfast said she finally stopped crashing at 11 a.m. for the first time in a decade. Her body needed the fat. It was never the enemy. And what about smoothies? So many people in the United States think smoothies are always healthy. But the reality is, Most smoothies sold in grocery stores or smoothie bars are packed with fruit juice, frozen bananas, sweetened yogurt, honey, and other high-sugar ingredients. Even green smoothies can contain 40-60 grams of sugar. That's more than a can of soda. People with diabetes need to understand that it's not about the color, it's about the content. That's why the smoothies recommended in these breakfasts are based on low glycemic ingredients only. Spinach, avocado, cauliflower, and protein powder are metabolic allies, not sugar traps. The frozen cauliflower adds volume and creaminess without carbs, and the almond milk keeps it light. When blended together, these ingredients create a powerful breakfast with nearly zero glucose spike. A woman in New York said this smoothie kept her full until lunch, and her CGM, continuous glucose monitor, barely moved after drinking it. Compare that to the 180+ mg/dL spike she got from a banana and peanut butter toast just a few months before. It's a completely different biological experience. Another detail that people overlook is meal timing. In the United States, many people skip breakfast entirely or grab something in the car on the way to work. But studies now show that skipping breakfast can actually impair insulin sensitivity, especially in people with type 2 diabetes. Your body is most insulin sensitive in the morning, meaning it processes glucose more efficiently earlier in the day. Skipping that window and pushing your first meal to late morning or afternoon can actually lead to higher post-meal blood glucose levels later. That's why experts from leading research hospitals in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom now recommend a protein-rich, low-carb breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking for people with blood sugar issues. It helps regulate circadian rhythms, supports cortisol balance, and leads to more consistent glucose control throughout the day. A man in California who used to skip breakfast and eat a big lunch said that once he added a savory breakfast bowl within an hour of waking, his energy and blood sugar completely stabilized. He didn't need caffeine anymore to power through the morning. People also need to understand that you don't have to eat breakfast food for breakfast. In Australia and the United Kingdom, many diabetes-friendly meal plans now promote savory, non-traditional breakfasts like veggie scrambles, grain-free bowls, or even leftover dinner-style meals in the morning. It is not about what the meal looks like. It is about what it does to your glucose. That's why things like ground turkey with cauliflower rice or eggs with sautéed kale and olive oil outperform toast or pancakes every time. They don't just stabilize blood sugar, they nourish the body, reduce hunger, support metabolic repair, and actually help reverse insulin resistance over time.